What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 35th Gunsmith. Today I have the project of the Remington Model 4. Yes, it is already apart. I have already filmed. In the video I talk about several things that we're going to get into, such as cleaning and different things like that. After recording this video of the disassembly, I realized that I wanted to do a separate video on cleaning the different parts so I could explain certain details, aspects, and how they function. So this video for now is just going to be the disassembly of the Remington Model 4. So I really hope you guys enjoy. And the reason I made this, I wanted to touch on this, the reason I made this video is when I first got this weapon several years ago, I took it apart before I was as knowledgeable as I am now, and I could not find any details on how to reassemble it. That was before I realized that the 7400 and the 740 were much in the same design. One obsoletes the other. We can get into that later too if you have any questions. I'd be glad to answer them. But I just wanted to touch on that I'm making this video for those who are in search of obscure or irregular gun disassemblies with the pieces that go where, if you lose a spring, something like that. That's something I've had a lot of trouble with as a gunsmith or an armorer in learning. So please feel free, and I really hope you guys enjoy this video. We have the Remington Model 4. This is a semi-automatic 30-06. We're going to take it apart. We're going to go over some of the common problems. We're going to go over what's wrong with this one particularly, and we're going to give it a good cleaning. You can't really see it right now, but we do have some pitting from the rust where it sat in very, very humid conditions. Let me see if I can turn it. This side's a little worse. So we're gonna crack this thing open and we're gonna get into it. So we're gonna start by releasing this fore-end screw so we can remove the fore-end grip. We got our Klein flathead here. I prefer these over your Walmart gunsmithing tools. So go ahead, that was a little tight. As you can see, it's a bit rusted. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen this screw and remove it completely. We're gonna remove the fore-end screw and remove the fore-end cap and the fore-end spacer. Those are definitely gonna need cleaned up, rusted, and all gunky. You can see, I don't know if the camera will focus on it, but you can see all the residue and the rust in here. We'll remove this fore-end, and it slides in there through those grooves. It's pretty gunky in there. You got some spider webs, some rust, stuff like that. I'm gonna go over some wood and stock cleaning, fore-end cleaning, and what I like to use to get all these deep spaces cleaned and cleared out. But here in a second, I'm gonna go over that. But for now, I'm gonna give you a better view of the action bar assembly, or this is gas driven. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, but this is called the action bar assembly and how to completely detach this. The barrel takedown nut. Let's discuss this for a second. Just like the Remington 870 shotgun, just like the Remington 7400 and 740 models, this Model 4, all of these pieces are held in place by this barrel takedown nut. So you need a size 19, sorry, it's upside down, a 19 millimeter wrench is my preferred method. And it is kind of sketchy because of these bars. But before we crack this off, there are some other things we got to take care of up here. Okay, so before we can remove the barrel takedown nut, we have to remove the action tube support and the action tube support pin so we can remove this piston. I have now moved the Model 4 to our workbench. It's more solid for knocking out these pins. I have my non-marring table blocks set up, one for the barrel, one for the receiver, and we're gonna try to knock these receiver pins out. I'll give you a closer view here in a second. Before I remove any of this, I like to, and I believe it's good practice, to go ahead and remove the trigger assembly, so I'm gonna do that real quick. So to remove the front and rear trigger plate pins, you are going to need your tapper. I got a brass and a nylon end, non-marring surface, and I've got my 5/32 roll punch. All right, so honestly, This one, the front is a little smaller. Well, it's a lot smaller than the rear pin, but I use this one because it's decently universal. You just want to give them a little tap. You can choose to do them one at a time or knock them out. I also have a magnetic mechanics thing. It's like a little catch. You put your nuts and bolts in. But you don't want to move this around because you don't want to pound it straight into your block by any means. That's why they create these nifty little holes. Some of them get a little tough. Make sure you're lined back up on there. Your little roll punch rolled off there, but so now that is free. So I've got the pins. Like I said, one is a lot bigger, one is a lot smaller, and they've got these notches in there. So for some of you who may not be aware of the anatomy of a firearm, this here is your thumb safety. This here is your mag release. And that in there is a part of your trigger assembly. That is a disconnector. So you might want to just slide that forward a little bit to where you see the opening. A little bit further. I mean, they're in there tight. And oh, she hasn't been apart in quite a while. Well, our hammer popped free. That's all right. Okay, so there's your trigger assembly. As you can see, it's got some grease built up, some grime. That's probably why it's having some actioning issues. Before I remove the action tube support and the action tube support pin, I want to talk about the trigger assembly a little bit. I would not go taking this thing apart. I would not go poking at it. You can clean it. That is perfectly acceptable. But honestly, leave everything where it's at. Do not remove anything. Everything is vital just where it's at. So a few things about it. The reason I say that is this is not held in by anything. This is your magazine release. And if you take your trigger assembly out, I wouldn't go messing around with that. It's held pretty well in place, but as you can see, there's a spring in there. And if you don't know exactly how to do it, and there's not many videos for this particular model, you will just find yourself in a world of crap. And I say that lightly, because I've been in that situation when I first started. But as you can see here, there's many components. I wouldn't go pulling that either. I'm just showing you that's your trigger or your hammer once your trigger releases. And just pop that back in there. If I were you, I would, you know, run some solvent over it, maybe a brush or two. But like I said, be very careful not to mess any of those components up. That will launch. It is dangerous to not only mess with this and put it back in your gun, but it is also dangerous to your eyes and the people around you. So just set this off to the side. Let's take a look at this action tube assembly here. So you can see it's freely open. When you pull the trigger or a round is fired, it moves back on that piston. So the gas comes through here, pushes that back, and loads another shell. I'm gonna use the exact same punch for this. It's pretty well universal with this firearm. So with this one, you wanna be a little more careful. And there she's out. But this is under spring tension. I'm gonna get into this in a second. So let's hold that thought. I wanna stress again, keep all of your pins separate. Remember what is what. If I were you, I would make a list, tape them to the piece of paper. You know what I'm saying? Clean them one at a time. That's what I did starting out. But this right here is your action tube support. You can see it wobbling a bit. So what we're gonna do, I'll put a pin in there real quick. We gotta hold that open, and we're gonna slide that off the gas tube. Maybe. Yep. Little finagling. All right, now it's off. Spin it, pop it right off there. Set your tube back on there and let it rest for a second. When we pop this off, we're gonna open this up and we are going to slide this bar out. See, that spring just releases. that is going to be extremely difficult for you to get back in the first time or two, but you'll learn a method. We'll get into that too. Now that we've removed our action tube and our action spring, we're gonna set them to the side, and we are going to work on getting the action assembly out of here. I'm pretty sure I misspoke. This is your action bar assembly. I'm not sure what I had just called it, but this is your barrel takedown nut. Like I said, we're gonna get our 19mm wrench, and you're just gonna be careful with that because you don't wanna bend up your bars here. It's gonna get a little sketchy here in a second, so I'm gonna remove this. Now you probably should have this in a vise. Oh, what do I see here? I see a break. The 4-end spring here is broke. As you can see, the wing broke off the other side. A lot of these parts have been discontinued for this model, so I mean that's something else I'll touch on, but we're gonna have to replace this. All right, we've got the barrel takedown nut off. Again, set it somewhere where you'll remember where it's at. Now, the barrel comes right off the receiver. You want to spin that to the side, drop it out, set it down. No parts should fall off of that. Then the rest. Oh, I forgot one major thing. For those of you who might have noticed, this is your ejector port cover. Now this won't typically come out until your operating handle is removed. There's a pin in there holding it in place. And as you can see here, that allows you to get a punch in there. This won't come out until you pull that whole assembly out of the front end. So again, we're gonna get into that too when I put it back together. So for now, let's punch the operating handle out of the bolt. For this, I'm gonna use a standard 1/16 punch. It's not a roll punch, but it does do the job. So with this, you wanna have something magnetic, I suggest, underneath. And you just wanna get a good angle. And it'll pop right out. I lost my grip. I hope you can see that pin, it's tiny. I do have a magnet strip. You do not wanna lose these pins. All right. Push your bolt back a little bit, wiggle that out, and there is your operating handle. As you can see, it's got a little notch cut into it. I don't know, my camera won't focus on it, but there's a notch cut in there that the bolt that runs up, the pin that runs up through the bolt holds it into place. So this is very important or none of this will operate. At this point, your bolt should just slide right out. These are one piece. I'm not gonna take this apart. I don't advise you do either. There are ways of cleaning it without. We'll go ahead and get into that. As you can see, a lot of this is very rusty. There's a lot of buildup. I'm gonna zoom in on some of this to show you some of the carbon and some of the grease buildup that can happen in this over a period of 20 to 30 years of not being cleaned. Now we're gonna remove the grip cap and the grip cap insert, and we are again using our Klein Phillips head now. So we're just gonna unscrew these and remove that cap. Now that we've got the grip cap and the grip cap screws out, you can see that they're very rusty. We're gonna run a solution over these as well. Again, keep them somewhere where you're not going to lose them. So now we're gonna remove the stock. If my gun or camera will focus on the inside of the buttstock, you can see there's a screw, and that screw holds the buttstock to the receiver. It is a flathead, so we're gonna go back to the flathead screwdriver. This is pretty difficult. You're gonna wanna line it up in the light. It might be kind of tight if it's been a couple years. And it's kind of hard to keep a grip on it, so you might have to realign a few times. We have pulled the stock bolt, the stock bolt lock washer, and the stock bolt washer from outside of the stock, which has separated our stock from our receiver. One thing I forgot to add, your stock bearing plate sits here on your receiver stud on the back of the receiver. You don't want to go whipping the stock off because you may lose this. This is an integral piece. So I just forgot to add that. I wanted to throw that in there. This is what my keeping things organized looks like. This is magnetic. I don't advise that you do this if you're just now taking this apart for the first time. As you can see, I've already removed the butt plate. The butt plate spacer is kind of forged on there. I'm not sure if that's factory or if that happened over time, but as you can see, the screws holding the butt plate are extremely rusty all the way into the core, and that'll be very bad for the wood inside the stock. Now that we have this Model 4 completely in pieces, we've got the wood stocks, we've got all the components that put the barrel to the receiver, and we have all of the parts. Now, let's get into cleaning it. That was the disassembly of the Remington Model 4. Stick around, I will be doing a cleaning video, a thorough breakdown. It's one of the packages I offer. You check my websites. If you're in the area, you can see what I'm talking about. This is the field strip. I will be getting into cleaning the parts, what you should and shouldn't do when you clean it, what you should and shouldn't remove. I will also be doing a reassembly video. So I know that taking it apart or watching a disassembly video to try to reassemble something can be extraordinarily difficult and confusing. So thank you guys for sticking around, and I will see you guys next time.